Turn on your mics, please.
Like some.
All right, whenever you're ready.
I'd like to convene the work session Monday, April 27th, Madras Aquatic Recreation District. First thing up on the agenda is
Can you say the time, please?
Oh, it is 5:30, 5:31 now. Madras Swim Team Facility Use Agreement. Cora and I met with Madras Swim Team, and there wasn't a lot of changes to the agreement. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, Frank. Cora and I have read it thoroughly. We made some date changes. The attorney, our current attorney, made some verbiage changes, and they presented all of that to the Madras Swim Team, and it looks like it's good to go. They potentially are going to have hopefully have two swim meets this summer. They're still tossing around dates. With a question mark, June 26th and July 17th from 5 to 7. But I don't know that those are firm yet, coming from them. So any discussion on that swim team agreement?
The only thing, did you touch base with Courtney about the question they had about the scoreboard?
Which question about
Amber said that there was an agreement between us and the swim team that they would get 50% of the proceeds from the ad sales.
Yes.
And she said they have not received anything to date. And so we told her we would look into that. I know I saw in the budget there was a line item I think had $150 in it. So I don't know if we have that written agreement or if we can maybe get a report of
So we do have a written agreement. It's part of our advertising policy that will come before the board sometime in the next few months for review. That particular ad, we sold one ad this year for $300, and $150 was applied to their winter fees. We had a conversation a couple of years ago, and perhaps folks have forgotten about it, that rather than us writing a check to them and then they write checks to us, that we apply that credit to their fees for whatever the upcoming season is. So that $150, 50% of the advertising was applied to their winter rental fees. And I can follow up and
shoot
put that in writing
to Amber. I didn't know that one down.
Yeah, I just had it in my notes.
So I was up there. They also asked about the health fair and putting flyers, and I was there that day, helping at the front counter. They failed to get us flyers up there, but I don't think that.
I think they might have been more interested in the sixth grader one, and
they will be put in their take home.
They'll be out on the. I don't think the demographics for the health fair.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. But it'll be good to think about that sixth grader one. And I think they asked to attend, right?
They asked at least to have them on the counter or
somebody
sitting there, and that.
Yeah,
this is fine as far as we know. The other thing that I wanted to share with my fellow board members is that mailing that went out. I mentioned to you, I met with the postmaster.
Oh, okay.
First, Courtney reached out to the mailing service. They emailed me their spreadsheet as to what routes they sent to and what the totals were. I called this gal, Crystal, so that she would explain to me what her abbreviations on the tops of her columns were, because I kind of had a gut feeling I knew what they were, box counts and such. Mm-hmm. So Madras now has 6 rural routes. They didn't stock each route completely. And I'll use it as an example. We have a route that's called HC62, which delivers inside Madras, Yarrow, and it delivers all the way out Ashland and back. Well, Ashland's not part of the district, but the carrier doesn't know this. Mm-hmm. So they have those one per customer flyers, and as they're going along delivering their mail, if you have a lazy carrier and there's no mail for that box, they're going to drive by rather than sticking this one per customer in it. What we found was it was very sporadic. We had 28 people that responded to our post that we put out in social media. Mm-hmm. Where do you live? And it was anywhere from City 1 to Route 6, City 2, HC 62, Route 5, Route 3. It was very, very sporadic. So the postmaster said he would talk to his team about the importance of some of our local mailers. And
Does that mean there's an excess somewhere?
no, if anything, there's a shortage because we only put into service 8,416 flyers.
So maybe they got delivered to people out of district.
Potentially, yes, there could have been like
PO
on that
boxes
particular
and-
route.
Yeah.
There could have been people out of district that received coupons. But when you're doing a bulk mailing like this, which is the cheapest way to go, residential customer only, but I think the way we handled it by putting it out there, hey, if you didn't get one, stop in, get you one, honor it was the right thing to do. It was also in the match paper. They didn't get it in their mailbox, they could have got one on the paper. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's a learning experience. I hate that it was such a large expense. And then kind of sporadically reached our voter base.
Well, I don't think so. When you look at the grand scheme of things, 8,000 customers, and we only had 28 say that they didn't get one.
And how many came back?
I don't know. The girls Natalia's got a little box saving them in there, so maybe in a few weeks she'll have a tally of how many.
We had reported that we had received about 1% back as of the last board meeting, and we've got a whole nother stack I haven't had a chance to count.
Yeah.
And they expire in June.
Yes,
Yeah.
June 13th. Although I'll tell you, if somebody brings one in, we're probably going to honor it. There's no
Yeah.
reason not to.
The first day I was up there helping Natalia at the desk, it was an open swim afternoon, and they were short on lifeguards. And there was two different groups that brought coupons in, and both of them were teenage groups, a group of boys and a group of girls, and they were all excited because they had a coupon.
Yeah.
One free.
Oh, go.
That's cool. I think it was worthwhile anyway.
I wonder if we look into doing this again, if it's possible to partner with someone that's already sending a bill. Like the city of Madras, when I worked there, we could stuff like flyers in their water bill. I don't know if it would make sense to do something like that, or
there too, we're probably going to have help with it because can't you sign up for online bill
Yes.
pay?
Yeah, and I think that the city had challenges with that. I remember when they did their dump coupons, their free load to the dump, that they had some, with their online bill pay, but I don't know.
And that would just reach the city. So there again, we're only reaching a small group of the total customer base. I don't know, the newspaper and the social media platform, I guess.
Or just handing them out.
Yeah.
For the record, Janelle arrived at 5:38 p.m.
Thank you. Okay, so intergovernmental agreement with 509J school district, unless I can back up for just a second. We just went through the Madras swim team agreement, and I briefed everybody on the post office, and we will in the business meeting unless there's any more discussion on that contract. Did you have any discussion on the Madras swim team? I just missed it.
It was just about the advertising monies for the scoreboard and how we're settling that agreement for them to get 50% of the ad sales for the scoreboard. And is that all we discussed?
I think it's applied to the credit gets applied to their account.
And they help get advertising.
Yes. I presume.
We had one ad last year on it.
I know, I was just their lap swimming, so it's like, I don't remember what ads I saw.
And
Okay.
if I could, for the record too, even though there's no conflict of interest for me to participate in that conversation, out of an abundance of caution, I was not involved in discussing the agreement this time, and I appreciate Vice Chair doing that so that my kiddos can swim because they want to this summer. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, I think Cor and I both agreed to having the Madras swim team on board. It's a win-win for us because those are our
Yeah.
future staff members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, I mean, maybe I or one of us could reach out to Amber. I don't know how we've historically done the ad sales in the past, but maybe it would be worth a little bit of legwork. See if we can get some more ad sales there.
Yeah, even from
It
around.
benefits both of us. Yeah, I would be happy to volunteer some time for that if, you know, that would help. Yeah, I don't know.
They were going out for more advertising just in the building, and they were gonna use some of the panels before we had that scoreboard.
Mhm.
There's panels that you can put like signage even for ads. But then you also have to keep track of like the 1 year renewals and stuff on some of those things. And there was like a person dedicated to marketing at the time. It was back
Within
around
the
like
district.
2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just haven't really.
And then when we
had
got this where we
capacity.
were like, oh, we can just advertise on there and it's quicker and easier.
So a few years, I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago, we did put out information about advertising. It went out through the chamber and it went out. A staff member at the time put a lot of work into trying to get letters out to every business. And we only got one person who responded to it. And so we haven't spent the staff time to do that because the return on that investment is not great. But it'd be great if one of our volunteers wants to lead on that. And we've got a policy that outlines the prices that we need to update. And so that's going to be on a future agenda. And yeah, staff would love it if someone wanted to take that on because we just don't have capacity.
Partner with
Yeah.
Madras
I
swim
mean-
and get somebody from there.
Yeah, I mean, like Jean said, I think it's an important relationship to build and something positive we can work towards with the community. And then, yeah, I'd be glad to touch base with Amber.
She'd probably welcome the help. Okay, IGA with 509J, facility use agreement and the parking lot agreement.
Okay, so board members, this is the same. Let me start out. When I have my MAC hat on, I am serving the Madras Aquatic Center Rec District as your executive director. Because I am also on the school board, when I am in that space, I recuse myself from any conversations about this and I actually physically leave the dais and sit in the audience so that there is no perceived conflict of interest. So I have been working with the school district on both of these agreements in my capacity as the executive director for the district. There are no major changes to the agreement aside from some dates, but I do want to bring us to the final page, which is the fees, because those have changed a little bit based on our cost recovery.
And you're talking about the final stage of the parking lot agreement.
Final page of the
Facility
facility use
use.
agreement. It looks like this, it's Schedule 2. And as we discussed when we were looking at the cost recovery, the swim lessons are going from $60 per student to $65 per student. The other change, there's 2 other changes. The field trips are going to $300 per hour. They were $320 per hour. So there's a bit of a reduction there based on our cost recovery. And then the lane rentals for swim team practices went from $15 to $18.60 per lane per hour. And so there was an increase there. The net difference is basically, it's going to cost the school district the same next year as it costs this year for services. And it's right around $30,000, which is that deposit amount that they put in every year. Happy to answer questions about the facility use agreement before we move on to the parking lot.
So in the MST agreement, it mentions that the prices are subject to change based on the IGA with the school district. So where we just did the MST agreement, theirs is $320 an hour.
Yep.
And so
we have 2 options. The way that our agreement with them is written as is, is we would give them the new fees. We would let them know by October 1st, and they would go into effect for their winter season. The other option, because it's a cost savings as it relates to the swim meets in the evenings with that reduction, the board could say, let's amend this agreement before we approve it and bring it to that 300 instead of 320. But the way that it's currently written, if there was no additional conversation, that's how it would work. We would give them notice that by October 1st that the fees had been changed and give them the new fee schedule. And then that would go into effect for their winter season.
And then the lane fee, is that would mirror on MST as well?
No, the board took action a couple years ago to give a reduced lane per hour fee. So theirs is $11 and it's in their agreement. So the changes to this, the only fees that are on this Schedule 2 that impact MST are the swim meets for districts or for the evenings and then on the weekends.
The other thing that I noticed that was different between the two agreements was that for swim team, for MST, it says we'll provide 3 lifeguards, and then for 509J, it says we'll provide 2. And I just wanted to understand why.
So for MST, we're assuming they're using the warm-up pool. The leisure pool is a warm-up pool. For the school district, they have to pay extra for that. And so they would be paying extra for additional guards if they're going to use the warm-up pool. So that's the difference.
They don't typically use the warm-up pool at the high school meets, do they?
They only usually do for districts. They don't typically for their other meets.
I've only watched the one and they didn't use it while I was there watching.
Yeah.
And does our staffing actually change during that time so that our facility has a cost savings, or are we typically fully staffed in case?
We try to be fully staffed in case. And if we're able to, we try and keep, depending on the type of meet it is and how many swimmers they have, we might be able to keep the leisure pool open. And so we would want to be fully staffed anyway to keep both bodies of water covered. So it just depends on the event.
So if I remember correctly, with the MST meets, because theirs are in the evenings, we still have leisure pool open. Yeah, open swim.
But yet we have an extra lifeguard in their agreement. That like it says that they're responsible for the extra lifeguard, but we also have that open to the public. I don't know. It doesn't, that piece doesn't make sense to me. And then the only other question I would have is like the class parties and field trips, and then like a district evening swim meet are priced the same per hour. But I just wonder if the swim meets have any more burden to the facility as far as the amount of garbage and cleaning the restrooms and the bleachers. And
so the high school provides volunteers that help with all of that. Additional trash and cleanup and all that kind of stuff. They put the facility back together with us. So it's not any more burdensome than any other rental we would have or being open to the public.
Does the other something that good? Yes.
Well, the feedback we got from MST, I think they were happy with how the contract was working. They just think that would be that too.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, we weren't at the negotiation table for this part, but I would just almost be inclined to say that the rate for the school district could mirror what the rate for MST is, instead of changing MST
Down
I
to
don't know.
300.
Yeah.
These rates
part
are
of-
based on our cost recovery policy. So it's really MSTs that would need to be updated to be reflective of our cost recovery policy, not the other way around.
And we negotiated with the MSP, because it's such a small group and those are the little kids.
Yeah.
Are less for the lane rates. We wouldn't want it
Yeah.
to mirror. But we'd be reneging on that.
Well, yeah, I'm speaking of the of the swim meet, the
The swim meet.
$300 an hour.
Drop theirs down to the 300. I'm good with that.
Well, I was
Yeah.
saying to
Drop it
bring the
down.
school districts up to match theirs. I mean, since they agreed to it.
That they'd be happy with that.
The school district go up to 320.
No, for, I thought it was MST was gonna go down to 300.
That
She
would be
was saying
the,
the opposite.
that would be the proposal to be consistent with our cost recovery policy, but the board doesn't have to stay consistent with the policy if you don't want. Your prerogative.
Would leave that the same.
Oh, you girls have confused me. I thought we were lowering. Isn't
That's what
that what
Courtney
you're
said.
saying?
No, she was saying the opposite.
Yeah, it doesn't track for me that we would lower the cost when we're having financial troubles and MST has agreed to the cost. This my 2 cents.
So MST is set at 320, correct?
They're set, yes, at 3.
Yes, the current contract is 320, and then
Yeah.
in the contract, it says if fees change, that we would notify them by October 1st,
Yes.
and it would go into effect for their winter season.
Okay.
Do you think the school district would pay the 320 for the, because the thing that it would affect on them is the class parties and field trips.
I can tell you our field trips and class parties have diminished since our fees were increased last year.
What
And
did they
so
increase from last year?
they were, so let me think. I think it was 280 or 285. And then it went up to 320. And then it would go to 300. Remember, this cost recovery policy was adopted in the fall. And so when we put that 320 in as the fee, it was not based on our policy. So this is an adjustment based on the policy that was adopted this fall by the board.
So what, the high school, do they do evening swim meets or do they only do weekends?
They do both.
Evening ones?
Mhm.
What if just that number went up to 320 just for the evening swim meets to match the MST? That leave the parties and field trips down at the 300.
Will of the board.
Yeah, MST doesn't do class parties and field trips.
Well, I know, that's
Yeah.
what, like, it would just match then.
Yeah.
That what MST already has in there, it would only be one change on the high school.
I mean, at the end of the day, how many meets are we talking about?
So the
season?
The school district did 2 this last year. They had 3 the year before that.
And MST is hoping to do 2 also, so we're talking.
There's definitely
Yeah.
more field trips and
Yeah.
parties than there are swimming.
Mhm.
I think it would have less than, but then it would be-
All right. So, do we have a consensus here? You
Yes.
see that schedule change by the $20?
Yeah, just so then we don't have to change the contact you guys just went over with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will of the board.
Okay.
Shall I go on to the parking?
Yeah. I want- well,
Agreement?
More than I want.
So,
Oh, that's it.
when I first came on as director 5 years ago, I called the school district and said, do we have an agreement on who does snow removal, who does all these things? And they said, oh, well, like, no. And Jay, the superintendent, had just started at that time as well. And so we kind of tried to go back and look through documents, and he found this intergovernmental cooperation agreement that's in your packet. And this was signed before the MAC was built, before the parking lot was built. And it said that maintenance, upkeep, future improvement costs, and joint use parking areas are covered by this agreement. And the parking lot that's drawn in this agreement is not what was built. So we had kind of a verbal agreement that we would do the landscaping because we've been doing it for years. We pay for the electricity for the lights because that's all on our system. We pay for irrigation because that's all on our system, and that they're responsible for snow removal and any major updates to the facility. And by facility, I mean parking lot. So you can see my notes on this. Back in 2022, we tried to clean this up a little bit. The city vacated a portion of the original right-of-way that was going to be used for Kemper Way. They vacated it back to the original owner. There was confusion. Is that the Bean Foundation? Is that the school? Well, it was the school district. So now the school district got that back. And so when you look at, I'm going to just go all the way down. This original agreement said that we can agree otherwise, and we'll put those agreements in writing. So that's what we're trying to do here with this intergovernmental agreement for a shared parking lot. So now I'm going to go to the proposed agreement. Actually, first I'm going to go to my artwork. We were trying to figure out how many parking spots there were. So we did a field trip out to the park. Simon and I did a field trip out to the parking lots, and there's 92 original spaces for JCMS. And then the additional 84 spots were built as part of building the MAC. And so as we looked at the spots, we said, well, generally we use about 46% of the spots. And certainly during events and programs that the school district offers, they use 100% of the spots. But on a general day, they're using about 54% on that one end of the parking lot. So we took that and started the conversation around this agreement. And the pieces, I would say to the board, we were originally going to bring this back in the fall, but because of everything that was going on, chose to wait and bring this at the same time as the facility use agreement. So I would ask the board on this agreement term, section 1, to change the continue in effect date to June 30, 2027, because it seems silly to approve it for a month. And then it just renews annually unless the parties decide to make some change to it. You can see there's a reference to the land. We can terminate the agreement with less than 1 year prior written notice. We would have to have a plan in place for parking if we wanted to terminate the agreement, and they would have to come up with a plan for us if they wanted to terminate the agreement. Let's see, maintenance and upkeep. So we're responsible for landscaping, water utilities, and electric utilities. As I said, those are the things that are already happening. School district is responsible for snow removal and regular maintenance of the parking lot. Anything that costs more than $5,000 is going to have to be split by that 54 to 46%, based on how we're using it. And we would do that as part of the budget process. So it wouldn't be a, hey, by the way, here's a bill for $10,000. We would have agreed on it ahead of time and had it written into our budget and everything. We don't anticipate anything costing more than $5,000 in the coming 5 years or so. At some point it will have to be paved or chip sealed or whatever treatment it is, but that's down the road. It does need to have its parking stalls striped, and then there's a few of those concrete barriers that need to be fixed, and the school district's aware of that. I talked with the superintendent about this and said that we didn't have staff capacity to take on those kinds of projects, and because it's their property, they get to do that, and they were fine with that. So if there's an RFP that has to go out, if there's construction management oversight, they will take care of that. We're just going to split the cost based on the shared parking lot agreement percentages.
Have they actually ever been a part of some of those things?
No.
Yeah, done at least once already, but we have it done on our
Not our property.
and no removal. I know when Greg Williams was on board, he was having some farm.
Not our property, is what I would say. Yes.
So you know the facility That pay for the construction of this park?
So yes, that was part of that cooperation agreement. And because it was on school district land, that's why they had that original agreement. Because it did get, I'm assuming it got paid for out of the bond, that it was part of that project. It's like, yeah, it's like $5,000 to replace 7 lights. Yeah, I've been talking to them about it.
So that was going to be my question about the lights is where in this does that fall? Because I didn't see like light, I didn't see that exact verbiage in here when I looked through.
So we are responsible for the electrical utility. Fix those is an improvement. And so I would say to the school district, if it's more than
5,000 threshold.
then we need to split it. And if it's less, y'all get to fix it. So that's what I would say to them.
They get to fix it because it's an
It's
improvement,
Mhm.
but we're responsible for the electrical.
Utilities. Yes.
For paying the utilities.
Paying the utilities for the electric.
The other big one is crosswalk.
I have sent an email every year to the city about that with pictures. And we'll do it again this spring. So I'm about to send one to crosswalk city to school. Never been a crosswalk. Passage school, adult and a goblet. Something. Ugly. Every morning I take well, there's a giant pothole right on the elevated crossing across Kemper Way. So that we've been set. Yeah. So I'm hoping it's on the improvement list for the next time they're doing improvements.
And that's under the city.
Yeah, that's because it's in city right of way.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about was security. So we do have security cameras that show the parking lot. The school district does not. So we talked about that if they need footage, like for example, I got a request for footage because there was an accident that happened there. I didn't release it to the individuals who asked. I released it to law enforcement. And I told the school district that we would release it to them if they requested it as well, but we wouldn't release it to individual parties unless there was a public records request and then it went through the process. And so from a security perspective, we have footage of the parking lot. And then, just a lot of legalese and who's authorized to sign it and that we're both public bodies and that we should cooperate. And then at the end, you can see that there's a rendering of the actual built parking lot and the spaces that we're talking about. And so this has been on my to-do list for 5 years. And I'm excited to finally present it to the board because it'll be nice to have it in writing and have an agreement to refer back to. The school district is scheduled to hear this at the school board meeting at their meeting.
All right, any more discussion on the parking lot?
So with this agreement, then does that settle the parking lot light issue that and that's discussed and planned?
We haven't discussed that issue directly, but yeah, I mean, this gives us the platform for that conversation. Yes. Yeah, we got a couple quotes for it. So we'll talk with them about that.
And you think the language is specific enough about the
yeah, I think it would be anything over 5,000, we would split it.
Okay.
And if it's under 5, that it would be the responsibility for that.
Okay.
Policy review, financial management policy. This is the second time we've seen it. The changes are highlighted in red within it.
Happy to answer any questions that after you've had a chance to look at it since the last meeting.
I had a question and it'll take me a minute to find where it is. It mentioned in here about the spending authority based on our procurement policy. But then online I didn't find a procurement. I found like the public contracting policy, but I didn't think that I found the spending limits listed in there.
It's in that policy. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Right at the beginning, it's right here. Say speak into the mics.
Thank you.
So here on section A, number 3, all public contracts or amendments to public contracts with an estimated cost greater than 25,000 must be approved by the board. All contracts or amendments with an estimated cost equal to or less than 25,000 may be entered into by the executive director without board approval. And that's consistent with state public contracting rules.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the spot that I was looking at. Earlier today, but it was more like a purchasing policy is how I was understanding it. So that it's written in here.
We can always reference the board policy 2026-04 now that it's been adopted that way. When this was originally done, we didn't have that policy number.
Yeah. I think what I'm looking for, and I don't just when in the past when I've worked in finance, in government finance, there's been a policy like, you know, an employee of a certain level has a spending authority of this much, or they need a purchase order. And so I just didn't see where that is clearly laid out, like where the threshold is that it comes to the board or the executive director.
That's this policy.
At $25,000 is
yours policy.
So the only financial layout we have for that is $25,000. Then the board must approve it.
Correct.
There's
Anything
no
under 25 is
beneath internal policy beneath $25,000.
No, there's no one else spending money on our staff.
I feel like whenever Courtney has something that's even in the 5 to 10 to 15,000, 20,000, I mean, we're always looking at all of the costs anyway. We've never had an issue with not knowing about money being spent at this point.
Yeah.
All the oversight on the budget and everything.
That's my feedback. I'm used to seeing it like very well laid out of how, you know, it would look internally. And I know, as you know, that you guys review those as part of your board positions. I just thought that we would have a policy that clearly laid out the parameters.
So we did have that policy in that purchasing policy when we had staff who were like department head level staff, like they do at the city or the county.
Yeah.
We don't have those staff. So when this purchasing policy was adopted, the only person that is spending money is me, and I approve all expenditures of the district.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to have any additional layers beyond
that. One other thing, and I'm just asking these questions as someone who's new to the board and just has, you know, the question. I'm not trying to insinuate anything. But I did see in the minutes from May 2021, there was like a financial report. It says Director Sneed reviewed the May financials. Noted in the board packet, she shared with the board that Summer Sears, a CPA recommended by various local partners, was at the MAC today reviewing and updating the balance sheet, profit and loss reports, and evaluating internal controls for financial purposes. Courtney indicated that the board would see the new reports next month and shared that Ms. Sears would be providing monthly oversight check-ins as part of the internal controls moving forward while Courtney was wearing both the business manager and executive director hats. So I don't see anything about that in this policy. So I just wanted to know how that evolved. And it's been a long time since 2021, but I don't see a lot about internal controls on purchasing. And
It's the secretary. You want to speak up, Janelle? I know you're trying to eat, but it's the secretary treasurer's position to review all of those.
And any checks require 2 signatures. So even if I authorized a purchase for $10,000, 2 board members would be signing off on it. So that's the internal control. And at the time, Summer Sears did provide that service for a while, and then that function went to the secretary treasurer as a cost saving measure.
okay.
So on a weekly basis, either I or Irby or Janelle will be dropping in up there to review bills that she's trying to pay, expenditures and some.
Okay.
Yeah,
Give us on the.
and for what it's worth, I mean,
That's what, well, that's why I just brought that.
we had internal control findings every year from the inception of the district until 2021 when we had our first clean audit, and we haven't had that issue since then. So
Yeah.
We really got pretty serious about that with all the things we discovered when.
Right.
Joe went to that position, but that's what all of this is.
Yeah.
Is literally all the different transactions. We review the credit card statements, what money's being spent on going in and out.
Okay. I just had questions about how that, developed. And obviously it's not cost savings for us to have a CPA do that all the time. I just wondered how that developed and where it reflects in the policies.
I think the other thing was like the till management, because that's where money was disappearing, was like even in the front cash till box. And so now 2 employees count it together. I think it's you.
we have all kinds of
There's like checks and balances on that were never in place before. So for even like literally counting the quarters and dollar bills and all that, there was never anything until happened.
Okay, any more discussion on the financial management policy? We've not gotten all the way through it, but we did review it last month. Did you have anything more you wanted to point out, Courtney?
No.
Or did you have any more questions on it?
No.
All right, move on to that inclement weather policy.
So this is on the schedule to be reviewed this month. The board did approve revisions in November of 25. So staff didn't have any updates for this policy. It was just an opportunity for the board to take another look at it. And if you have any questions, I can answer them. We're not recommending any changes as a staff. We are developing a communication toolbox for when inclement weather, particularly smoke related incidents happen, with the AQI reaching that 100 and then 150, and have already been in communication with the county to add to our procedures. At what time do we communicate with them, what our schedule looks like, and then for them to be able to add us to their list. So we're on top of it this year. I would say much more than I was on top of it in prior years.
Hopefully we don't have those big fire events. I'll pray about it. Yeah.
All right. How about the heat illness policy? Heat illness prevention policy?
Yes. So this is a required policy by the state of Oregon. And this original one was adopted in 2021. There's only one small change that staff is recommending, and it's near the end. And it's to reflect that we now have air conditioning. We have an air conditioned break room, which we didn't have at the time. And so down on page 5 of the policy, you can see that cold water is available in the employee break room. And then the employee break room is the air conditioned rest and recovery area for staff.
Perfect. Any discussion on that?
We do go over this policy with our entire team, as well as a bunch of other policies at every summer in-service in preparation for both the summer when it's hot and then also as our annual training. So we talk through bloodborne pathogens, we talk through heat illness, we go over all of our safety plans and reorient the whole team to everything as we go into our busy summer.
Any discussion? No? Everybody's good on that one? Before we jump into our budget prep plan, Cora and I and Frank were talking about the free swim that's being offered Friday.
May 1st.
May 1st.
May 1st.
This Friday.
This Friday.
May Day.
Yay. Being offered. And Cora was asking me, and Janelle, you can share some insight into this. I know I remember hearing discussions. I can't tell you if it was 2023 or 2022. We talked about, wouldn't it be great if we could get businesses that would step up and sponsor free swims? And
Yeah. I
I couldn't tell you.
with St. Charles. I wanted to throw a party.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you what board meetings, but it's always been out there, tossed around. If you know of businesses within the community that think they might want to sponsor, I know when this one came up, I was zooming into a meeting this winter and I asked, who is this construction company that has sponsored? I didn't know the name. Janelle, do you have anything else to share about this, how they came to be?
I just kept asking because I was in charge of like our med staff funding, and so St. Charles also has some ways to maybe do that. So I would love to host one and tell all the employees and stuff to come.
Yeah. So we as the board spread the word to all those businesses that we know, and hopefully get some more that'll step up and sponsor through the summer.
All they have to do is reach out to me, write a check, and we get it scheduled.
Yeah.
It's a pretty straightforward process. We just make sure we have staff available to do it. If a business says we would want to do it on a Sunday, then we could try and figure out how to do it on a Sunday. So it's a pretty flexible, available option for folks to sponsor one.
Yeah.
Could they do it during a normal
Sure.
swim?
Sure.
And then that wouldn't require any extra staff time or anything like that?
Yep. Well, we'll have Friday open swims all summer, so it'd be a great opportunity for folks.
And are we advertising for this for other businesses?
We have not done any advertising for it. Well, I shouldn't say that. We did put out, if anyone else is interested, contact the MAC when we put out on social medias about this one. But we haven't done any targeted advertising.
There's also like just the pool rental fee online, like under the list of like all the different fees. And so I've looked into it at one point, like we were going to do a joint birthday party between like a few families and wanted to do that. And I think the date we wanted to do it wasn't available. But that was, it was online. So I looked at it, I was like, hey, you could just divide this among a few people.
Yeah.
And rent it.
Yeah. Well, I think Frank before the meeting was referencing some of the public concern about how this came about, that it was a board member's business. And I think that's just a really clear, easy way to clear it up, is to advertise it openly for other businesses in town. And then it doesn't seem like there's, any question around if it's only offered to certain people. That I think was the concern that was voiced. And so
Any thoughts on how to advertise besides the social media platform?
well, I would think that we should do it on our website, on our social media platform separately. It's not, it's not like a private rental. But and businesses don't know what they would be getting as far as the advertising. Like there's not information about it for how other people can take advantage of it. So I think that is the only thing that's created the questions. And I think if we can just be clear about that and it being open and available to any business.
It is on our list to add it to the website. We just haven't had a chance. We've been really short staffed, and we've had our marketing lead has been lifeguarding instead of working at her desk. So it is on our list to add that to the website. building a how to support the MAC, how to get more involved, that kind of site. We just haven't gotten there yet.
And I will say, when she's lifeguarding and I'm working at the desk, it's all I can do is take care of the desk. Yeah, I'm trying to learn the software, and it's a little tricky. Yeah. Another question that came up to me while I was at the desk was a patron came in and they noticed I was wearing this T-shirt. They said, "Oh, you've gotten T-shirts for the board," and I said, "Well, kind of. I bought this T-shirt myself." Yeah. So anybody on board, and I know Frank has gotten up and bought himself sweatshirts. Identity Zone has the emblem thing, and you can go up. They have stuff in stock. You can buy your own, and they'll print it up and they'll charge you a fee for it. So, yeah. Okay, so moving on, we've got budget prep. Let's look at that organizational chart.
Okay, so board members, I presented a similar organizational chart at your last meeting. This one has more firm FTE numbers because we're starting to get close to budget time. And so what you can see here is we're going to be proposing in the budget a total of 9.40 FTE for the district. 7 of those FTE are in programming, 1.25 are in administrative services, and 1.25 are in MAC facility. One of our hopes for this upcoming budget was that we would be able to budget additional staffing for the front desk so that I wouldn't have to cover the front desk as much. We do not have the financial wherewithal to do that at this time because I'm estimating we're going to end the fiscal year either at 0 or negative because of all of the expenses associated with litigation and legal fees. So as we go into next year's budget and hopefully have just a really great year of higher revenues and lower expenses, we're hoping that in the future we can add additional staff to that front desk. The staff that work the front desk right now, it's really Natalia. She has been lifeguarding more than she's been front desking. And so part of that 7 FTE you see under programming is a portion of our part-time regular staff and 1 full-time staff member. And then there's 1 full-time staff member administrative services and 1 full-time staff, 0.75 staff member and custodians and under facility. We've really been trying to transition our facilities person out of doing any deck or lifeguarding and really have them focused when they're not teaching their fitness classes on the facility. And so that's why you see 0.75. This last year we had 0.5, I believe, of her time in facilities. So on this org chart, we've added the different positions under each of the different departments. And then we've also added what they're responsible for, just to be very clear about what each piece of that budget, because really I think about our org chart as a way of thinking about the budget. Each of these buckets is a different revenue and expenditure. And so this is the proposed org chart for the board to consider adopting. Now, if we get into budget and the board wants to do something different, you want to add FTE or take away FTE, this doesn't hold you to that. This just gives me direction as your staff member that in concept, you're supportive of this approach.
Any discussion on the org chart?
So the under the facilities where it's 1.25 FTE, that is just because that position is full time.
It's at 0.75.
Okay.
Which is
so that's there's the 3 other people that are certified as a CPO that make up that 0.25 portion, or
no. So the other CPOs are me and Peyton. So we're 100% in either programming or administrative services. The other folks that are in facilities are the custodians.
Okay. I like this layout. They're looks good.
Any more discussion on the org chart?
I just wanted to call out that on the lifeguarding side, that we've had difficulty with having like the majority of our lifeguards being high schoolers or folks that have other jobs, within the facility. And like with hours constraints and different activities going on in the high school, that's another constraint with like when we have coverage. For example, on like prom night and graduation day, like all of them want to go to those events because they're all in high school together. And so then it completely wipes our entire lifeguard pool.
That's what happened to a spring vacation.
Yeah.
A couple calls, yeah.
And so I know the advertising has been done at community college, which is another place to kind of reach out and find students. But
And I'm happy to share that 2 of our seniors are coming back to COCC and are excited to work mornings. So next year should be a little bit more staff that we have during the day, which is the hardest. I mean, the mornings are the hardest times to find coverage. That's in particular Friday mornings. We don't have enough coverage. We're all on a rotation on those mornings. And if one of us calls out, we're in a pickle. So
Will that change in the summer, or that burden will ease when school's out?
yeah, the Core 5 are really excited to have desk time and planning time during the summer when we have staff that are available during the day. And I've got at least 3 who want to work as many hours as possible. So we've explained that means they'll work Thursday through Saturday. And they're said they're here for it. We'll see how they do.
I know in the past we've had some homeschool lifeguards that have also been able to cover some odd hours. Do we have anyone?
We don't right now. The group we have right now is very heavily sophomores and juniors. So we're really kind of concerned next year. I think we have 8 out of our 17 that are graduating. So we've already been working on getting more of those deck attendants in and then helping them tell all their friends, this is a great place to work. You should come and do the lifeguard class. Because if we can get them in at 14 and 15, then we have them longer. So that's the strategy.
And are we still actively trying to recruit adults, or it's
just I think most folks view it as a teenage job. It's something I think comes out of the 70s and the 80s. Is it's a summer job and for kids. So we're working on it. We talk with the community college and OSU Cascades, and we send out our promotions about offering lifeguard classes. So we'll keep doing that.
Okay, how about the 5-year capital plan draft?
All right. So you guys have this in your packet in a large size format because it's too small to read on an 8.5 by 11. Essentially, what you have in front of you is the last 3 years of actuals, the current year, which is 25-26, and then what our draft 26-27 budget looks like. This is going to change the way it looks. We've been trying to be more specific in particular about all the different assets that we have. Over time, it's gotten more detailed, and it's going to continue to get more detailed. We just brought on an HVAC company that is going through and doing an evaluation proactively of all of our equipment and is going to give me a list of dates and life cycles and all the things so that we can plan more proactively for that. But for example, in 26-27, you can see that we've got $7,500 budgeted for the leisure pool filter media replacement. It's something we have to do this upcoming year. The pressure gauges on the 2 filters for the leisure pool are starting to diverge. And that means that the sand is getting compacted and it's not as effective in cleaning the water if it's too overly compacted. And it causes the pressure to rise and fall too quickly and creates potential issues. So we definitely need to get that done. We're hoping to get it done maybe even in July once we hit the new fiscal year and not wait till September. We talked about trying to do it before the end of this fiscal year, but because we had to fix that front door, we don't have that capacity now with our capital budget. The spa filter media is also due to get replaced. And we talked about pushing it one more year, but we've already pushed it. So that's something else that we're thinking has to get done this year. The heat exchangers, originally we got a quote for $65,000 to replace the 3 heat exchangers. We just went out and got new ones because that was about 9 months ago, and now they're $90,000. So we're still waiting on a couple more quotes. There are a number of grants available for efficiency upgrades, and so we will not do this project unless we find some money to help us with it, because we can't afford it if we don't have that funding. That is a grant amount that's going to be included in the budget proposal, because we've got about 90% assurance that we can cover that amount with funds available for efficiency upgrades. As you go down, you see we have $10,000 budgeted for pool boiler maintenance. We have 2 pool boilers that get maintained every year. We've got that $19,000 budgeted for slide refurbishment, repairing the hardware and platform for the stairs that go up to the slide, and then refurbishing the pool toys. So that $19,000 covers those 3 activities. And then as you go down, you can see the total is $131,500. We're budgeting $100,000 in grant revenue to cover some of these projects, because we have more than 80% assurance that we can get that. If we don't bring in those grant revenues, then we don't spend the money to do the project. So it just gives us the budget authority in the proposed budget to do that.
And I'll share with fellow board members, I've gone to the county, and I will get on the agenda. We planted the seed about them sharing some of that TRT funds, the transient room tax funds. So it sounds like they may possibly send some our way. Contacted the city. They're not doing their TRT funds this year as part of their budget process. They said they'll start those conversations in June. And so we'll get on the agenda for June for the city, and we'll ask them for some TRT funds to maybe help with the slide refurbishment project. This week, what's happening up at the pool is a great example of those use of TRT funds. These sheriff Marine deputies, they come into our area and they stay 10 days to 2 weeks doing their training. They're eating in the restaurants, staying in the motels, and using our facility, for their training. So if we don't ask, they can't say no.
Well, the pool heat exchangers, big number,
Big number.
Yeah, that's the big one for next year.
but
Much needed.
probably in my mind, number 1 on the list. Because right now what did Oregon State say? They're at 10% in efficiency or
Yeah,
less or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that. So not only is there a possibility of failure, if we do this, it's going to save on energy. because of efficient.
There's hoping that grant writer comes through. Yeah.
The which is between the heat exchanger and the boilers, is it a combination of those that heats the actual pool water?
yes.
Because we have lowered the temperature to save costs. Is that correct?
By about a degree, yes.
Okay.
Slightly.
I just hear that a lot. The pool's so cold. And so we'll be able to raise it back after those are done.
Potentially. We wouldn't raise the lap pool anymore. That's at 80 degrees. And if you get any warmer when people are working out, it's too hot.
Yeah.
The leisure pool is at 83 degrees. It used to be at 84. That's one we could raise that back up. Part of why people think the pool is cold is because it's so warm and humid in the air outside of it, but we have to keep that way for evaporation. So yes, potentially we could raise it 1 degree. I don't know that we would right away. I think we would wait and see what the efficiency difference is before we would do that.
So a very brief discussion. The water that is heated with the boilers cannot touch the water that is in the pool because it has chlorine and all this other stuff. So if you run chlorine through the boilers, it'd eat them up in a couple of years. So essentially the boiler water goes this way, there's a bunch of fins in there, the heating water goes this way and it transfers there, and a whole bunch of little tiny fins. Well, they're 20 years old now, and they have gotten filled up, and the water is not.
And this is the project that we spoke about, Courtney, that they were like afraid to open it up and it might become, so is this like an overestimation of the cost in case it does become big?
No,
Or-
no. So the cost for flushing them is like 15,000.
Uh-huh.
And they were afraid to flush them.
Yeah.
The 90,000 is replacing all three. Now, if they open it up and they feel like they can clean it and get it to good efficiency, but at 20 years old, I'm guessing we're going to just need to replace all three.
Mm-hmm. And this quote, is that new, or I don't know if I should say new, but the contractor that was suggested by Martha?
No, this is from the company that we've been using. We're still waiting on 2 additional quotes. One from Southland, which is our new service maintenance provider for HVAC and boilers. And then the other one is the one that we talked through with Martha.
Okay. And did we get the maintenance plans back? I think you said they were working on a write-up, the Martha people
Yeah, I have not gotten that back yet. And then as you go out, these are truly estimates, for 27, 28, all the way out through future projects. Future projects could be in the next 5 years. It could be in the next 10 years. We just tried to dump everything in there so that we had a sense of the cost. And so you can see that in 2 years, we're looking at about 2.5 million in expenses because of relining the pools and the locker room accessibility project. Our grant writer has some really great ideas about funding for both of those things. So we're going to continue to work on that. And then a couple years out after that, you can see those future projects. We just, like I said, dumped everything in there. Roofing repairs. Eventually, we're going to have to redo the roof. Redoing the scoreboard. We had to do it after 12 years last time. So we're thinking that'll happen sometime in the future. And so those are just the costs that we have now. This is going to change significantly as we have more proactive planning with our our partners that are providing services. But this is what we plan to have in the budget for capital improvements.
I know that the grant writer was part of the budgetary planning for next year. But how does that work? How do we pay them? What's the agreement like for a grant writer?
So we have a professional services agreement with them that I approved. There's an hourly rate associated with it. There's a cap. So I've said that we can spend up to $2,500 by June 30. And then next year it's $5,000. And then we can always discuss raising or lowering that depending on how successful we are at achieving grants. Originally, the first list of deliverables I got was a bunch of tracking. And I said, I don't need any I just apply for grants. And then, of course, I'm providing that support of detailed operational information and budgets and all that kind of stuff. And then we get a bill for the hours spent doing that work.
Okay. So it's already started for this year.
Yes. Yeah.
Any more business meeting discussion? Anything? All right.
I was way off on my estimate.
Does anybody need a break before we start the business meeting? No? Full steam
Okay.
ahead?
Yep.
Yes. Yes. All right. Let's convene the business meeting at 6:40. Roll call. Chair Irvi Dominguez, absent. Vice Chair Jean McCloskey, present. Secretary Treasurer Janelle Lewis.
Present.
Board Member Cora Hollyman.
Present.
Board Member Frank Maynard.
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hopes of a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. In Central Oregon, we are standing on the ancestral lands of the Wasco, Warm Springs, and Paiute people. We pay respects to their elders, past and present. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
Move we adopt the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Correspondence in our board packet. I know there was some correspondence, patron comments, etc. Courtney, do you have anything to say about that?
No, there's a number of emails. I also would note for the record that the board received a hard copy of an email that was sent to me, forwarded by Cora, from Susan Kovari. So that's included in your packet. And then there's a couple thank yous from folks. There's a couple of emails, and yeah, that's what I would say about correspondence. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. Oh, and we did have our 6-month health inspection, which is also included as part of that. Just saw it, and passed with flying colors on all the things.
Yeah, I happened to be up there that day. That was one of those days I filled in last week when we had some medical issues and met the health inspector.
On the health inspection, the notes piece, I had a hard time piecing together some of, like reading some of it with just the way the copy was. Those are not, it's listed under specific problem, but those were just noted that things were good.
Yes.
And did members of the board get a chance to review Susan's correspondence?
I read it this morning. I think everybody was included in her email.
Are we interested in placing it on the next meeting agenda to discuss some of these concerns?
Absolutely.
I'll remind the board that the next regular board meeting in May, the work session is the first budget committee meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So you won't have a work session per se on that evening. So you could place it on the business meeting if you'd like, or set a time for a special work session, however you'd like to approach it.
A special work session might be good, maybe. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we can send out a email and find a time that would work for everybody.
Yep, I can do that. And this would be are there any other items that you would want on that, or just this
Well,
email?
If there is, everybody can think about it in between now and when the email comes around,
Yeah,
things that we can address.
Yep.
Perhaps we have our budget orientation on May 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps we could do the orientation and then the board could stay and we could do a work session immediately after. Maybe a tentative plan, and then I'll check with Irving.
Send that out tomorrow as a tentative plan to everybody and let them respond.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to call out that I think Carrie Graham's email was the one that got missed and added in to this board packet, but Jane Ahern also sent an email on the 30th So we should probably add that in.
I can add that to the next board.
Yeah.
I think it would be great if we had like, if we as a board created a system, if we feel that all of the communication that goes directly to us, we forward to include in the board packet, or if we I mean, I don't know.
think every email that we get needs to be in the board packet. If somebody requests it to be in the board packet, happy to put it in there. But you think about all the correspondence we get, and even the executive director might get, they all don't warrant to be in our board packet.
Yeah. I think if there, so maybe not in the board packet, but some mechanism for the board to host that discussion so that when the public has questions, we can clear it up instead of allowing things to, remain muddy. I think is just would help some of the situations that we have had. The board were to address some of these, some of these things and come to an understanding with people that have questions, then I think that could be helpful with our relationship with our voting base.
So maybe we can address that at the work session.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have somebody on the board that'll volunteer to be the spokesperson and answer questions. If somebody sends me a direct question, I try to get them an answer. But some of the emails that come in are just people sharing concerns. They're not asking a direct question. So that's why it was suggested that we include every email in the board packet. I don't believe that's necessary, but that's just my thought. So
This is still the email from Susan Kavari from the 30th. That same long one from before, from our last meeting.
No, this was
there was one
from
that came in this
April
morning
20.
from Susan Kavari as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, that was
I missed that one.
April 26th.
Okay.
And our current practice, for what it's worth, is that if a board member forwards me an email and says, please include it in the packet, I do. If I get an email and they say, include this in the board packet, or please share this with the board, then it gets included in the board packet. But otherwise, we answer a lot of questions and do things on the regular that we don't include in the board packet. So it's really only if someone requests it that it gets included.
And I think that's pretty consistent with any other governing body out there.
Yeah, I mean, there is one instance that came up this month that I had emailed you about, Courtney, where a patron had asked about weekend hours, and the staff sent them a response, which was a nice response. But the board wasn't aware of that when then at the next meeting we spoke about and made a decision on weekend hours. And I just feel like there should be some leeway and some attempt to make the subjects that are notable or, of concern to the community and affect the way that our district is viewed. And, that the board has a chance or creates a mechanism where we can address those things and have those conversations openly. Just to kind of help repair the relationship and,
So let's bring some thoughts and ideas to the table. And I think we could spend a whole work session around possibly just that.
Yeah.
Well, I think, Courtney, didn't you start a section of the website too to answer like questions that get brought up in public comment? So like we started doing that. I suggested that a while back to keep them all in one spot on the website where people could look at things that have already been asked. Because there was a lot of things getting asked multiple times. And so we started just writing the questions on there and putting the answer so that people could reference it.
Yeah, I think I'm the FAQ page is great. And I think it did help over the summer. I think what I'm referencing more is like the governance concerns that seem to be ongoing. Just if we can address them as a board or agree whether we should or not, I guess I feel that we could, but I am one of 5. So I just think if we could address them and kind of, instead of just hearing the complaint and, okay, it was a long email, it didn't have any direct questions, and just not ever doing, doing anything with it, then it allows those questions to remain and that problem to fester. That's my point of view. So we can discuss it at the next. Yeah.
Anything else? Let's move on to visitors section, public comment. Before we get started, I want to state that this is the time set aside for citizens to express their views to the board related to district business. A 3-minute time limit is set. I ask that all visitors please be respectful to those that are speaking. Booing, hissing, clapping, speaking out of turn will not be allowed. So do we have anybody online that wishes to speak?
Becky Blejo requested to speak.
All right, let's start there.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, good evening to the board and the executive director. My name is Becky Blejo, and I just have some wonderful things to say about the pool. Okay? Yeah, I do. And I've lived in this town now for 3.5 years, so maybe some of you would think I'm a newbie, but I consider myself a community member. And I know there are many who have very similar views to me as well. Moved to this town because it was in between where my adult kiddos live. But one of the main draws to coming to this town was the pool, and it still remains probably the high point for me in this town. Ever since I moved here, I've been a regular. I call myself a regular because I come approximately 3 times a week. Sometimes I'll come every day it's open if I can. Yes, I am retired, but I love the pool. I love the water aerobics with Amanda, and I'm a lap swimmer now, and that's something new. And I'm really into that. And I swim at other pools in Central Oregon, but my heart is always at Madras because it is the best pool in Central Oregon, and I'm including the pools in Bend. So tonight, though, I just want to talk about something else. I want to talk to you about the wonderful things that I've seen in the past few weeks. I got to see the 2nd graders coming in the last few weeks for their water safety and lessons, and it was so cool. Yes, it meant that some of us lap swimmers had to get out of we had to make some concessions. I have no problem with that. I just love seeing more people at the pool. And then this past Saturday was Little Otters. I have to tell you, that was the first time my grandson and daughter and son-in-law, they were here, and we had such a beautiful experience. It was just wonderful. There were around 15 littles. And it just seemed like the pool was full and with their parents, and there were people on the side watching, and I just soaked it in because it was wonderful. It was glorious. It was beautiful. And this is all going on while there were some people using the other pool, and there was a water aerobics class going on, and that had around 10 to 12 participants. It was wonderful. So what I saw on Saturday, and every time that I'm at that pool, and I'm at that pool a lot, so I know who goes and I know who doesn't go. I see an amazing staff and an executive director that work together. I mean, I even saw the executive director having to lifeguard for while the littles was going on because there were so many people there, and coming into the pool and helping Peyton a little bit because there were so many people. It was great. They work together. They keep the pool safe and fun. And again, we've got an executive director, thank you, who does it all. So
Thank you. That's done. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Do we have any others online?
Not gotten any chat requests. If anybody on Zoom would like to speak, please either raise your hand or send me a chat request. I didn't see any. Nope. Susan Kovari is requested to speak on Zoom if you want me to do that next.
Susan, are you there?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Susan Kavari. I appreciate the board's interest in my letter today. Those that read it, I really do appreciate it. So earlier today, you would have received that. My letter was regarding transparency, incomplete board materials, and omissions from public record. I know the pool's wonderful. I know that Rebecca had a great time and everything's wonderful, but this is how we operate the pool. We have to get to these concerns to be able to keep the pool going. I want to summarize those concerns here tonight so that they're clearly stated in open session. What concerns me most is the appearance that the executive director is selectively deciding what's important enough to include in board packets, what correspondence is shared with the board, and what concerns are allowed to become part of public record. Yes, I know, Courtney, you don't get all your documents from the board members, but you do get most of them. That is not acceptable. The public record cannot be shaped around one person's preferred narrative, priorities, or agenda. If a communication relates to public business, it should not be filtered out simply because it is inconvenient, critical, or inconsistent with how the district wants events presented. One example is the correspondence from community member Marian Fisher. She's a friend of mine. Her concern was not vague, and it was not trivial. She explained that with a 2-year-old child, open swim was the only practical option for her family. She questioned why the MAC offered roughly 24 weekly hours of family swim. We know that's increased, but only for 2-hour option swim blocks per week. And she asked why a public pool would only be closed on Sundays when many families have more time to use it. Staff gave her a substantive response, including usage data and staffing issues tied to religious observance. But despite the fact that this was clearly a real public access issue involving scheduling, policy, and community use of public facility, it was never brought before the board for public discussion. It was handled privately and excluded from the board packet and agenda. For that, I'm sorry, Miriam. The same pattern applies to my own correspondence regarding public record matters. Those concerns involved public business and became serious enough to require escalation to the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. Yet that correspondence was also omitted. At the same time, other correspondence has been selectively included. That raises obvious concerns about inconsistent treatment and about whether the executive director is effectively deciding on her own, which concerns are allowed to appear in the official record and which are not. Another example is the privately sponsored free swim event. A board member's private business sponsored a public swim event is sponsoring for May 1st, arranged directly with the executive director. Yet there has been no board discussion, no agenda item, no public vote, no disclosed correspondence explaining how this arrangement was initiated or approved. When a board member's private business is involved in district programming, even if other businesses are invited, those communications are public business and should be visible to both the board and the public. This same lack of visibility now extends to the taxpayer lawsuit. The board publicly authorized legal counsel on January 2nd and entered executive session, but the reference engagement materials were not made public. Since then, there has been no visible board discussion, no agenda item, no clear public record showing ongoing board oversight of this litigation. I'm not asking for privileged legal advice or litigation strategy. I'm saying that the existence of the lawsuit, its general nature, and the use of public resources should be reflected in the public record. Executive session does not erase the board's responsibility to govern transparently. There are also important omissions in tonight's meeting materials. Agenda item 13 asks the board to consider approval of the 2025 Executive Director evaluation, yet no performance evaluation summary has been provided for the public to review. That's significant because when a similar item appeared last March of 2025, the Executive Director Performance Evaluation Summary was included. If the board is being asked to approve a 2025 evaluation, the public should understand why no comparable summary has been provided this time. Now, maybe it was taken off the agenda, I don't know. Likewise, at the February 23rd board meeting during financial reports, the executive director stated that donations and fundraising were exceeding expectations and confirmed that this included a $10,000 donation, along with smaller donations. Yet there has been no further public disclosure of who made that donation, what it was for, whether any conditions were attached, or how it was recorded and applied. A passing verbal reference is not enough when a sizable donation is being cited as materially affecting the budget picture. Finally, I want to correct the public record regarding the $50,000 payment written to the MAC by the Madras swim team from grant-related funds for the scoreboard project. The response to Page's public records request omitted the material fact that this matter had already been formally escalated by me to the Jefferson County District Attorney, Steve LaRich, because MAC's response remained incomplete. I had to escalate that complaint because the district was not cooperating. And after that escalation, the executive director did not respond to me regarding that complaint. That was an important context because it shows this was no longer just a routine records matter. It had already become the subject of a formal complaint to the district attorney. My April 9th public records complaint explains that the MAC produced only an invoice and a QuickBooks deposit entry, but did not produce bank documentation, a negotiated check or deposit records. That omission matters because the public and the board were not given the full picture. Taken together, these are not isolated mistakes.
Thank you, Susan. That's time. So that's just some. So let's see. Susan Barker, would you like to come up and speak? Testing 1, 2, 3. Go ahead and give it a test.
The green light's on.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
she tapped on it.
Doesn't that feel like a lowrider when you sit down there?
It is. I feel like my knees like down on the floor.
Speak into that mic and let's see if we can
Hello?
get somebody on Zoom to give a
Anybody
nod.
hear
Is that mic working on Zoom?
I don't think this is working.
Yeah,
Now I can hear you. Yeah, pull it back closer towards you.
Oh, closer towards me,
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, we can
Okay,
hear you.
yep,
Yeah.
I can't see to read now. My name is Susan Barker, and thank you for allowing me to talk. I have a couple of things I want to mention. One is the 3-minute time that you allow, and I realize that this is the board's choice, and I respect that. But when the community that's paid for this facility and wages wants an extra minute, I feel you can allow that, especially since you choose not to do Q&As. Not all the time. I think we try and allow the 3 minutes, but there are times that it can run over. Next, I want to talk about the March 30th monthly meeting that took place here at this facility. The board chair was negligent in his duties to not have controlled the meeting at all. Your chair was negligent. Your behavior, he is gone. His behavior was a poor declaration of duties that you took an oath to uphold. You chose not to call to order or support any proper decorum. You did not perform the fundamental duties of a presiding officer. The remaining board members all sat there and allowed this circus to take place, while anyone at a given time could have called for a point of order to gain control of the disaster unfolded. All you sat there as a court quietly applauding the jesters performing in front of you. Shame on all of you. And as elected individuals that swore to uphold the values of what everyone thought you stood for when the people voted to put you in this position you now hold, you let the community down. Quickly, I just want to address the ED and our mention of hiring a grant writer. Evidently, this was either approved by just the ED or the board. I don't know. I just realized tonight that it was already been approved, so I don't know if that at all. But the money that they're making, that you are making, and the limited time the pool is open should allow you to write the grants. Since the pool and the needs and the wants of the community, along with disbanding the rec part, as you had no money or time, then a grant writer cannot be added into the budget. You need to be responsible and accountable for that position yourself and start obtaining the grants on how to open the pool more than 3 days a week and figure out how to bring back the rec. The $255,775,000 loan, including interest, has put the facility into a deficit for the following year. The practice of always operating in arrears will never make this facility solvent. Closing the pool last summer was a way to minimize expenses and to catch up, and that didn't happen. The way the board continues to support the ED's unrealistic spending gives way to the sentiment with voters will not vote to give this board or ED more funding. Saying you do not have time for anything, I just about finish. Maybe focus on organization and try and do better on one job.
Thank you, Susan. That's time.
I know it's time and I have one sentence. And I feel that there's a terrible arrogance attitude and no.
Susan, I can't allow you to continue to speak and others didn't. That's time. Thank you.
Oh. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Christy Abbey.
Hello, I'm Christy Abbey, and I don't have anything very prepared, just some ideas I wrote down during the meeting. I had thought on the way to this meeting that the TRT would be a great way to have some funds, because I hear from a lot of people what a great facility we have and how it kind of draws people, which also brings to light the fact that we do need to serve our customers, but our customers are also our taxpayers. And so that's kind of a hard thing. So anyway, if we could get some of the funding that draws people maybe to come here, that would be great. And then as far as advertising for the things, I wonder if the chamber would be a good way to advertise both to businesses and other people. And I know that if you're a member of the chamber that you can have things there. As far as the transparency, the ideas that Cora has are good ideas. I think that just to build trust for the community, that more communication is really, really good. For instance, one thing I've wondered about is who is this grant writer even? And, there's a lot of things that are kind of, to me, it seems shrouded. It's like, why wouldn't that be public, who that person is? And I'm also tired of hearing the lawsuit as an excuse for money that people have, because some of the choices that have been made have led to the lawsuit. And I feel like when the public is asked to have their behavior during their 3 minutes a certain way, the staff did not do that last time, and the board chair did not make sure that happened. So I just don't think that is good for community, repairing the community engagement with the board, with the district, and with all of that. So sometimes we have to work a little harder. We're going up a hill to get back a relationship, but we are the people that are footing the bill. And we would like to know that the money that we are having to spend, we don't have a choice right now. I can't just decide, I don't want to pay that tax bill. But I've seen some good improvements and things like that in this whole process. But I think the tone has got to be more positive to the community, and thankful for the community members paying their tax money. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you,
Thank
Christy.
you.
Anybody else from the audience wish to speak? No, we're done on Zoom. All right. Financial reports. We've got the March financial report. Courtney?
So you have the balance sheet, the current fiscal year in March, as it's actual. The piece of the report that I wanted to focus on tonight was our question specifically about the cash flow analysis. So this is our cash flow analysis that we use every year to get us through the baseline.
Is it muted?
Thank you. Yes. So I'm going to focus us in on the cash flow analysis, and then if there are questions on the other financial reports, I'm happy to answer them. So this is what we update every month with our actuals, and just wanted to share with the board that based on our March actuals, we're anticipating that we're going to end the fiscal year with about $1,000. I am guessing that this potentially will be a negative number. To come back from a negative 70,000 last year to a potentially positive or zero number this year is a pretty big swing. If we did not have a $60,000 expense in legal fees and litigation fees, then that money would be in our ending fund balance. And that is just fact and reality. And I'll keep saying it. It is fact and reality. So as you can see, we are looking to go into the summer with sufficient funding to be open, sufficient cash flow to get us through to when property taxes are paid in November. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has on the other pieces of the financial reports.
Board members?
Where are we at currently with our legal fees?
So let me go back up here. We are at $62,856 as of the end of March.
Okay. And do we have any policy or board direction on when we're contacting the attorney, for what reasons? Like, do we have that pieced out for how much is the lawsuit that we're blaming on the taxpayers and how much is the water heater issue, or how much is has gone to having to pay our attorney to speak with the district attorney over records releases that weren't handled?
I would be more than happy to give the board a line item detail of the legal fees for this fiscal year. I'm more than happy to include that the next board packet.
I think that would be great. I think that in our public comment, the tone about how we address the legal fee issue and the choices that led to those things is a really big sticking point. And as a board, if we want our operation levy to pass next year, I think it's something we have to start mitigating. It is a reality, and it is a reality because of the choices that we have made in our governance. And the taxpayers, again, don't have a choice. So that's what I would like to say.
Any other discussion on the financials? Balance sheet? Nope. How about the Jason? Kind of covered that.
Yep, I shared all the things.
So looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I approve the consent agenda.
Is that including the minutes, the meeting minutes?
It does?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Includes
I have some notes about the meeting minutes from March 30th. I think it was pretty significant having our employees come and give public comment as employees. And so I think we should have the record reflect their names up as staff members present at the meeting.
That staff member was not clocked in and was not here as an employee. They were not paid. They were not being paid that evening. Peyton Krela and Natalia Reese were both clocked in as staff members. Mm-hmm. They were the only two clocked in as staff members.
I understand. And when the two staff members that spoke during public comment came and introduced themselves as staff members, I think it makes sense to let the record reflect that they were here present speaking as staff members.
They spoke as, for one section as a staff member, and then they said, I'm taking my staff member off and speaking as a private citizen.
They were not clocked in. So that is why they're not reflected as staff members present. If the majority of the board would like that changed, then we can change that. But that's been our practice.
Yeah. So the other things that I would say about the meeting minutes is there were, several times with our votes where I made the gesture for the record. I would like to state this is why I'm voting this way. And those are not reflected in here. And I do know that the inclusion of the asterisk with the minutes are presented as a summary of the meeting has been put on there. It's great. I think it's great to put that there. I question that in the past year, the way that we keep our minutes, and I know we've had this discussion, has changed drastically. And I mean, earlier in the meeting, I referenced minutes from 2021. So I would just ask if other board members spend time looking back in the record to look for things that have happened while you're researching what's going on in the board packet. I do. And the way that these minutes are, I can tell you, for anyone in the future that's looking back, it's going to be very cloudy to find the things that have happened in these meetings because we're just skimming the surface and saying, here's the video.
How long is the video recording retained
Permanently.
permanently?
There is a little over a year, maybe 2 years on the YouTube channel publicly currently. And then on our website, there are not, the minutes and the packet meeting material is not consistently there. I'm just saying, like, has anybody else had the experience of looking back through the minutes to try to find something that's happened and get detail around the discussion?
Such as names of people in attendance and stuff.
Yeah, like 6 months from now, if someone is looking for the time that we had the staff members attend a meeting and that happened, I think they would come look at the attendance list. Like it's right there on the front page. But also, the notations of why a board member voted a certain way. There's entire parts of discussion that are not included in here. When the board members directly address members in the audience, that's not included in here. I just don't think that we are keeping good record for our district. And I know that there's a recording. I just don't feel that this is the transparency that we should strive for.
Previously,
I know we've
Courtney
had
would
this
spend
discussion.
hours after meetings typing those up.
Well,
So
and
the
I can share-
2021, she was using a physical recording and retyping.
I can share too, the law has changed in the last 3 years that now it's legally required to have a recording and retain it. And so part of the detail of the minutes prior to that is there wasn't a recording. It wasn't legally required by the state. And so that's some of that shift too. And that now we have that as a record of the meeting that we have to keep permanently.
So for instance, just as an example, in preparation for this board meeting, I went to the Jefferson County 508J School District website to see if they had discussed the agreement, because last year I remembered that had happened in April. And so I went to their meeting minutes and their agenda, and it said, renewing contracts or something on their agenda. And so I knew that I could look into their minutes and see if we were listed there. And so if we just said approve contracts, I just think their minutes reflect, okay, board member such and such said this. And I mean, some of our older minutes, I have listened to the meetings and followed through the minutes. Like I go to the minutes first to find what I'm searching for, and then I can skip through the meeting and not have to sit there and watch a 2-hour video. So when I know, okay, I heard this discussion, and so what I'm looking for is coming up next. And we're losing that in the way that we're keeping track of our minutes. And I think my concern is that this is not, the changes that have happened have not been based off of a board decision. So if the board, as Courtney likes to say, if the board decides that they don't want to do that, if it's the will of the majority of the board that it stays this way, that's fine. I'm just voicing that I go back to the minutes a lot, and I think that in the future this is going to be a really gray area, and hopefully we do have the videos retained, because our written record does not reflect what's happened in our meetings.
So what would you propose precisely that would need to be changed in that, what is it, the March 30th meeting? Did you have some verbiage?
I mean, there's several points in this meeting that are just not there. Like once you get into the action items,
Are they clear in the recording?
yeah, if you have time to sit and listen to the whole recording. So if that is, if we're happy with the bare minimum, I just don't,
Well, I
this
don't-
is
Yeah.
a big change from how the minutes were kept at this time, even last year. And it just, I think it makes it hard. It's harder for me as a board member to follow. It's harder for the public to follow, you know, when they go to look back at things that they're searching for. And so it's going to lead to more public records requests because you can't clearly find when something was.
I have a question. Isn't there a program that will take
That's what we're using.
a voicemail or voice and print it out?
I mean, we could just do the one-on-one,
The dictation.
print it right out of,
Off the,
right off of Zoom. I mean, if that's,
We addressed this though, and we wanted our paper minutes to be more concise because we have these great recordings that are kept in, which meets the letter of the law.
But you can have, you could take the form that comes out of the Zoom and still have it summarized, just not to this degree. Is this what it pared it down? Or how are you getting this summary then?
yeah, so essentially any direction of a majority of the board gets reflected in the written minutes, any vote, any policy discussion, like points that to a direction, that all gets put in the written minutes. For the visitors section, we take the direct one-on-one out of Zoom and put it in because I don't want to be responsible for interpreting and summarizing what other people say. And so that's what we've been using for that. And the board had encouraged me to delegate, and so I had another staff member do these minutes. And so and I reviewed them and thought they were fine. And normally this last meeting, we sent them to court and we didn't get these done until like the last minute on Saturday. So we didn't get a chance to send them for review like we have done in the last meeting. So if the board would like, we could pull these off of the agenda and then I can work with Cora to get the language in there that she's requesting. And then we can bring it back at the next board meeting.
Janelle, you have a thought?
Well, I think I mean, the more thorough thing from Zoom is not hard to get. I just don't know about like printing it every single time because it's going to be super long.
It's
It's
really
going to be
long.
like a novel. But knowing that we have that saved somewhere, I think for historical purposes would be beneficial. And then having a more condensed version of that. I mean, these devices like make it so that you can have the whole detail, like Frank's saying, like straight from the recording, but then you can narrow it down, like give me the bullet points from that meeting. And that's like what we basically have here is the bullet points, but there is like a copy out there that can be on the website for people to access or records request that has all of the information straight from.
Yeah, it has the one-on-one.
I think that's just, we need to have like two different, I don't think we can have that whole thing printed in here.
So, Cora, do you have some exact verbiage that you can give us that you think needs to be added to this?
So I don't have the exact verbiage because, I mean, I would have to go back and listen to the meeting, but like, I know that under, for example, number 9, the approval of the wage scale,
Number 9.
I felt that it was important that we noted for the record that the wage scale was brought back down by, was it $28,000, you know, from I just think it's about documenting how the board is handling the challenging to our governance that we're getting from the community. I think if we can be straightforward and put good faith effort into being transparent and documenting how we are taking steps to clear things up, that's important. And I would say if you're using some sort of AI and it hears a board member say for the record, that it would be included. So that's my questioning on it. And then I do believe that the staff members that were here should be listed as staff members present at the meeting. They were speaking as staff members, whether they were on the clock or not. They were speaking with their.
Well, this says Amanda Bailey, leadership as an employee stated.
Yeah.
So it states that.
So I think why shouldn't it state that at the where the attendance is?
Where the attendance is. So
At
what
the-
page is the attendance on?
At
First one.
the very front of the board members present, staff members present, visitors.
Well, because they presented, they did that whole presentation for us and we're on the clock for that.
But she's saying,
Yes.
see, the two other staff members that spoke in public comment were not listed as staff members present because they wore two different hats.
Yeah,
They
well,
were
they said
present,
that
but they spoke.
as public citizens or whatever they
And
said
I will
something.
say that I think we all agree that what they had to say was inappropriate. I think we all agree that the chairman lost control of the meeting. I went up and spoke to Courtney the next day. No, it wasn't. It was Wednesday. It was 2 days later when I was up at the pool. She had already spoken to staff about it. Yeah, so it was addressed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is a different conversation. I don't know what the level of appropriateness is from an HR standpoint, but I think those staff were all invited to the meeting. And I heard before the meeting even started that all of the staff is present at the meeting. And so I think that they should be listed as staff members present at the meeting.
Almost all the staff. Not everybody was here.
Core 5 was here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The core 5.
Yeah. And I just think, we have this long detailed email about shaping the public record to appear a certain way. And I just think that is what happened. And we need to be forthright with how it happened. And I think that is one way we can do that
So let's table this and let's give you a chance to work on the verbiage changes, which we've tried to do previously. And let's have this special work session and we can, well, we couldn't adopt them at that time, but we could add it into the budget meeting to adopt the minutes as they're amended.
I feel bad bringing it up over, again, but I do just think it's important. I know that not everyone is on the same page and we do have the video, but I just think that the added layer of transparency will help our situation in the long run.
So
I think it's also really intimidating for staff members to come to our meetings right now. And the fact that they came was a big deal for them to come and present to us. And so I want to be respectful of them and the work that they're doing and not drive them away from coming to our meetings.
I think that staff members who attended our meeting had presented a lot of intimidation towards the audience, which was not appropriate. And I have worked in government before, and there were very clear guidelines about how I was to behave when I attended a public meeting off the clock or on the clock. So I understand that a conversation happened. I would also say that those staff members were invited to come and speak on behalf of the executive director. And that is not something that we should shy away from because it's what happened.
So what I understand is that we're postponing item 8B to the 5/18 board business meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
How about the special board minute meetings of April 18th? Can they be included in Frank's motion?
They're pretty short.
Yeah, I think those were pretty straightforward.
So Frank, can you amend your motion to reflect it's for A and C? of the consent
I move
agenda.
that consent items A and C of the consent agenda.
Looking for a second.
I'll second it.
So just to clarify, Frank's motion is to approve consent agenda items A and C. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So let's consider the approval of revisions to that financial management policy 2026-01. Is there any more discussion on that? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion.
I move to consider the approval of revisions to the policy 2026-01 financial management policy.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Consider approval of the 2026 organizational chart. Is there any discussion?
I like the chart.
Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion.
I move to consider the approval of the, where are we?
Number 10.
Of the 2026-27 organizational chart.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Consider approval of the Madras Swim Team Facility Use Agreement for 2026-27. Do I have a motion?
The movie consider approval of the Madras Swim Team Facility Use Agreement for fiscal year 2026-27.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 12. This is the intergovernmental agreement with 509J on facility use as well as the parking lot. Is there any more discussion on that item?
No, just I'm really happy to see this.
Yeah, finally. I remember talking about it several years ago. Looking for a motion.
Were we going to do the $320 to mirror the MST agreement, or?
Yeah, just under the section for
Yes.
evening swim meets.
Yes, thank you, Cora. Yep, backing up to number 11, we should have noted that.
Well, no,
well,
it would
the-
be
yeah,
it's only on the
MS
school district one, not on
Yeah.
the MST one already
Oh,
says that.
perfect.
Yeah.
Great. That's right. That would be under the facility use agreement. Courtney, you have that noted?
Yes,
So
just for the evening swim meets.
just for the evening
Correct.
swim meets.
So I would move to approve the 509J intergovernmental agreement for with the caveat of the $320 for the evening swim meet and the parking lot agreement as stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So the executive director's evaluation, that was presented to the board members prior to the meeting. And Janelle, maybe you would.
I would love to comment on this.
Yeah,
So
comment on
Irvi
this.
and I were the subcommittee to help draft and arrange all the evaluations, both from the board members and the evaluations that came in, which ended up coming in from so the evaluation usually goes to community partners and staff members to fill out an evaluation on their relationship working with Courtney in her role as our executive director. And that evaluation got sent out within the community via social media and whatever other avenues. It made it out into the community. So we did get people filling that out who don't work directly with Courtney in her role as the executive director. So we did have that piece. So there was a separate evaluation for that pool, and then the board of directors all filled out our evaluations, and then Courtney filled out a self-evaluation. So we reviewed those twice, and we reviewed them in executive session as a group to be able to discuss those. And then a summary was created that Irvi and I compiled. I do apologize that I was unable to get that to Courtney by Friday. That is why it was not present in the board packet. And Irvi hasn't been available, so I did that job on my own. And between family emergencies and work, I did not get it done until yesterday morning while I was on call this weekend. And so it did get sent out to all of the board members and was available this evening to be added into the public record. So that was not omitted for any reason other than I needed to summarize the two different surveys and combine them together for this group.
And Janelle, it did get added to the website as well.
Oh, okay.
At what point was it added to the website?
As soon as it was probably around 4 o'clock when I saw the email.
This evening?
Yeah, tonight at 4 o'clock, it got added to the website.
Okay,
'Cause I
so an
emailed it
hour
out
and 30
yesterday.
minutes before the meeting. Yeah, because I was checking for it to be updated to the website throughout the day. I had a lot of people asking, and I know in the past we have been able to update, we were able to add Bob's amended report to the website well before the meeting a few months ago. So it's unfortunate that this was not added to the website.
We can be sure to include it in next month's. And was there copies back? Were there copies to hand out?
There are not copies. So it's on the website, and then it'll
it's
be
on the website
included on the website under this meeting materials.
Yeah.
In perpetuity.
Do you want me to go through it? Is that the next week? The summary? I mean, it leads into the next. So we have
Yeah.
to approve it, and then the next item of business is discussing next steps for the executive director position and appointing 2 board members to manage that process.
So should we postpone the approval till everyone has time to review the document that Janelle has prepared? Comments aren't taken at this time. Thank you. This is a board discussion.
I mean, this is a summary of what we've already discussed at 2 different meetings at length. I know we did run out of time last month when we had a 5-hour meeting and went into executive session at 10 p.m., which was extremely difficult for me, for one. But I know there wasn't a lot of comment or discussion left at that point.
I think I like the idea of giving the public time to review it. I think that there's obviously people paying attention to this matter, and it's, sets the tone for the next steps in the district. So I think maybe we should read through it. So it's there if any, for the people that are here, and then maybe have our discussion and save decision making for.
I'm good with
next
postponing it, so Irvi has a chance to review it before we all vote on it and accept it. Set it up at this next meeting we're gonna have.
You could make it a special meeting so that you can take action.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. I guess, so the executive director gets evaluated by the board and the staff and community partners. And so that the evaluation isn't going to change, or the summary, and we've all reviewed it. So I guess.
Yeah.
What piece, I guess I just want to clarify, allowing the public to evaluate our evaluation and give feedback on it.
I think I'm thinking ahead more towards agenda item 14, I guess. Is that like we had that discussion, but the public they weren't given time to review the direction that the board was going, I guess. But it's the will of the board. I think it's great we're here now.
Yeah.
You're right, it's not going to change. We can
The evaluation part.
Yeah, we can do this piece, and then
I just, because
Yeah.
the first part is considering approval of the evaluation
Yes.
summary, and that, I mean, we have all,
Not gonna change.
yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Like,
No,
we
I
have
was
all the
thinking
evaluations come in.
more, number 14, I guess. But I don't, I
And
guess I
Irby's
don't know
also reviewed
from a
this.
governance standpoint if there's anything about us approving a document that we have not given the public time to review. I don't. Yeah. But you're right. It's not going to change.
No,
It was
it's not
made in
gonna
executive
change it, but
session and
it will allow everybody to read it thoroughly before we approve it.
yes.
So we'll put that on the special meeting.
Okay.
Items 13 and 14.
13 at this time. So item 14, discuss the next steps for executive director position and appoint 2 board members to manage the process.
Okay, I think I'm confused. I thought we were going to do item 13 and then leave the decision.
She
of
wanted
item
to
14
table
too.
both of them, but I think she's just asking if we want 2 board members, if we want to think about
No,
it.
I was only on item 13 to be clear. We were talking about the approval of the evaluation that just got put out on the website at 4:00. So not all the board members have had a chance to review it.
She wanted to table both of them, but she mainly cared about number 14.
You're referring to Cora?
Yeah, Cora.
Oh, you wanted to?
I think that we can have our discussion and I don't know if that one ends in a formal decision. I think it would be hard to have that discussion without also discussing the evaluation in number 13. But I think that number 14 is the one where if we were inclined to make sure that the public has time to.
We're not making any decision on number 14. At this time, we need 2 of us to step forward and say that they'll start the process to work through this, manage the process. Irby's not here to volunteer.
Yeah. I guess that
Jerry?
brings the question
Get
of,
appointed.
are we discussing, it says the next steps for the executive director position and appoint 2 board members to manage the process, either negotiating the employment contract renewal or recruitment for a new director. So are we going to talk about what way we're leaning or when we appoint those 2 board members, I guess?
Well, I believe at the very bare minimum, 2 of us need to step up and manage the process, which is delving into the contract and getting a consensus from the board about whether we're going to negotiate changes within that contract and offer it to the executive director, or are we going to go out for recruitment of a new director? So that's a big discussion that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's an important one, and probably Irby should be here.
Yeah.
So we're postponing that one.
What's the consensus here?
Good.
Yeah. Postpone it until we can get us the special meeting and get everybody together.
Yeah. Will Irby be at that meeting?
We'll have to work it around his schedule, evidently.
Yeah.
Baseball.
It's hard when you volunteer for several different things or you
Yeah.
have a job that's very demanding.
And one thing I would say too about May 4th is that if we had our budget committee meeting that day at 5:30 and the county commissioners debate is at 7. So I don't
And I'm
know.
going to be driving back from Idaho
Okay. Yeah.
on the 4th.
We might have to look for a different day for a special meeting. Yeah. Courtney's nodding her head.
Even if I was here, I'd be coaching baseball
Coaching baseball.
in Redmond.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think we can plan our meetings around the commissioners' debates or anybody else's debates. We
Yeah.
can do our meetings when we can get everybody together.
Right. It is a,
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a very busy time. All right, let's move on to the executive director report. You got anything else for us?
I do. Let me get to. Okay, so just a few things. We wrapped up second grade swim lessons for 509J. We're still doing lessons with, I just noticed I spelled it wrong, Madras Christian School. Peyton, Nyla, and Natalia did a really great job. And Amanda and I held down the lifeguard chairs for those. Thank you to Jean for covering the front desk for 2 days while I dealt with a family situation. Everyone was really appreciative. It makes it a lot easier when you can do things off rotation, like check the bathrooms and do all those things and not be at the front desk. So thank you for that. Budget season is upon us. Just wanted to put in the ED report, kind of what the expectations are around the different meetings that we have scheduled for the budget. So Monday, May 4th at 5:30 is budget committee orientation. That is an opportunity to review the role of the budget committee, answer questions, and talk about our current fiscal year budget and hand out the proposed budget document. This is considered a work session, so no decisions are made during that meeting, and we can't talk about the proposed budget during that meeting. It's just for talking about the current year and how the budget is laid out. Monday, May 18th is our first budget committee meeting when we would normally be having a work session. This is an opportunity for the budget officer to officially read the budget message and review the proposed budget for next fiscal year, and then follow up on any other questions that came up in that first meeting about anything else in the budget. The budget committee has the option that evening of approving the budget or deciding that they need more time. And then we have 2 more dates in the calendar in case there are additional meetings needed. So all 3 of those get noticed together so that it covers us for noticing requirements with local budget law. And then on Monday, June 22nd, the board will have its regular June board meeting and consider adopting the budget. Because if the budget committee needs that 3rd meeting, we may have to push our regular board meeting to the last Monday in June because of the noticing requirement. So just noting that for the record, and there are date requirements and all the things, and we can't publish our LB1 notice until we have an approved budget by the budget committee. So, and then the Pioneers timelines are really tight on when we have to turn around things to get in the paper for the following week. An update on facilities. We're still discussing the domestic boiler replacement. The issue at the moment is trying to determine if the challenges we're having are associated with the installation or if it's a warranty issue. I'm waiting for documentation in writing that it's a warranty issue, and then we will release the funds. I spent about 20 minutes on the phone with our attorney talking about this and got direction on how to approach it. And so we're just working through that process. The safety committee reviewed a number of issues. We made repairs to the front entry door. It cost about $5,100. Updated our accident incident form, and we debriefed 2 AFRs that happened within a 3-day time span. Those are accidental fecal releases. I will also share with the board that we, in my 6 years with the district, have called EMS twice in the last month, and I had not had that experience at all in the 5 years prior. So tried to follow up today with the family that had a situation on Saturday and left a voicemail and hoping to hear back that kiddo's okay.
And that was not a part of the Little Otters.
No,
Okay.
that was during the open swim.
Okay.
Was it a lifeguard noticed the child was in distress or the parents?
No, so the lifeguard was actually keeping an eye on the parent and the kiddo. The kiddo's, I would guess, 7 or 8 months old, very little kiddo. And mom got out of the pool with kiddo, and lifeguard was keeping an eye and then double whistled for someone to go and make sure she was okay. And then she came over to lifeguard and was like, there's something wrong with my child. Peyton happened to be standing there. So instead of the lifeguard responding, Peyton took over, did 5 back blows. Turns out the kiddo was either choking or potentially seizing. We're not really sure. But in the meantime, another lifeguard had run and called 911. We had 2 other lifeguards standing by to help. It was a really great response from our team. Another lifeguard went out and met EMS and held the doors open. So everybody did their part of what we trained for. And afterwards, Peyton came in my office and she said, Courtney, I've never done backblow. Like that's it. I just realized that's the first time I've gone into
little baby
backblows and CPR on a baby. And the first time holding a baby that was lethargic and sort of scary. It was a scary situation for the team. But the response was textbook.
Good.
It was really well done. Let's see. Oh, so reviewing quotes. We had, so we did hire Southland to provide HVAC and boiler preventative maintenance services. We got 3 quotes for information technology services that 3 staff members are reviewing right now. We did not receive any proposals for the audit. And so I checked in with both Janelle and Jean on some direction, and am going to reach out to our current auditor to see if they will extend 1 more year. And then we can go out again next year for audit services. As I've told the board the last 3 years, there's not a lot of people doing this work anymore. A lot of them have retired. And the Special Districts Association has advised everyone just to keep their current auditors, or they're not going to be able to find someone to do it. So
have we reached out to other districts in our network to see who they're using?
Yeah, a lot of them are using the same one that we have. And then I did talk with 2 who were thinking about putting in a proposal and then didn't end up proposing. So I don't know if they decided they couldn't take on additional workload, who knows what happened. But I had sent it out to, 158 folks that were listed on the municipal website for the state. And I got a bunch of responses back. We don't do those anymore. The person that did those retired. So there were quite a few of those.
And is that a situation where they're responding based off of their willingness to work within our RFP, or are they telling us like, yes, we could do this. These are our terms. Do you accept them?
So when they're responding to our request for proposal. So their proposal is formatted to respond to what we've asked for. Our RFP was the same RFP that Sisters Park and Rec put out, and the libraries used it as well. So we all put out the same things that we're looking for in a proposal.
Okay. I just wondered if there was something, that was unfavorable, yeah.
I could go back and ask those couple of folks that I talked with about why they didn't end up proposing.
I think I think that would be a worthy conversation. Just knowing, even if it's not for this year.
I have a niece that's a CPA up in a big city, and she said there's just not enough CPAs.
Yeah.
So encourage our kiddos to crunch numbers. Yeah. Yeah, they're horribly short staffed. She works for a big firm.
Yeah. Free open swim on Friday. Heard a lot of people talking about it. I know all the staff has been talking about it with everybody that comes in on Saturdays for open swim, that it's happening on Friday night. We've been promoting that the first 120 patrons get in, but if all the staff come in who are scheduled, we could go up to 160, potentially even 200. So we're going to take as many people as we can safely with staffing.
So you'll ask Natalia when she puts that out there again in the next few days, another little blurb on there about, hey, businesses come.
Yep, you can do this too. Yeah. And
after it happens and it's a big hit, again, I think put it out there. This is what we did. And it's a huge hit.
And we'll look at putting something together too for the chamber newsletter.
That's a good idea.
Well, in their calendar, because you can put it on the chamber calendar, like that event is happening. To advertise it. Sometimes because I'm not really on social media a lot anymore, so I just go to the chamber calendar and look for stuff going on in the community.
Yeah, I think if we can find ways to be advertising directly to businesses, that's.
When's the next coffee cups?
They're on Thursdays now.
Yeah. I saw one that's going to be at the Paradise Produce at the greenhouse there. I don't know when they do them.
Maybe some of us should volunteer to go and put it out there, at least get it started.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think it's great to go to coffee.
Thursday,
it's on the chamber calendar. It's usually at 8 to 9.
It's either 8 or 8:30.
Want to go to Coffee Cuppers on Thursday? I know Cora's thinking.
I am a permanent field trip. So I don't know.
It's literally the first one I've gone on since having children in school.
And you think it's at Paradise?
I think I saw that today. I don't know if that's the next one or I just saw I mean, because I go to Paradise Produce a lot, so I don't know.
Maybe Amber can put it in the comments online. The meeting.
We'll try.
So then the last piece, I think it's the almost last piece of my report, is Water Safety Awareness Month is coming up in May. And as time permits at the computer, they're planning a social media campaign with videos from the American Red Cross talking about water safety, and they're kind of funny videos that they've put together. And then we're still working on that 6th grade Water Safety Awareness Days on the 22nd and 29th. And I put in here the plan and what's going to be talked about. The sheriff's team is coming, fire EMS is coming. We're hoping public health will be able to be there. And then the library is also going to have a table for summer reading to encourage those 6th graders to get involved in reading over the summer. So that's exciting. And we're hoping, I mean, the idea originally that Amanda had was to do a big community thing. We just don't have the capacity. So we're starting with this with the 6th graders, particularly because they didn't get swim lessons because it was COVID time and when they were in 2nd grade. And so hoping that it'll help save some lives this summer with water safety. And then at the end of the report, there are some key performance indicator graphs and a few things I wanted to highlight for you. Total memberships have officially surpassed prior years since we started tracking in April of 2026. So you can see that's this graph here. We were at 988 members through April 18th. Third party and annual and monthly memberships have surpassed last fiscal year. And that's with us not being open for 3 months in the summer. So we foresee that we're just going to keep growing, especially with being open this summer. And we still have 2 months left to go in the current fiscal year. Swim lesson revenues are set to equal or exceed last year, which is incredible because most of our swim lessons usually happen in the summer. And we're poised to have, again, huge growth next year. Our team did a really great job, as they presented to you last month, redesigning it so that it's I think it's a higher quality program and really focuses on key outcomes for kids for swimming and moving on to the next level. And that focus on quality is really paying off. And then the last data graph is interesting. Memberships and facility rentals are the largest earned revenue. So memberships and facility rentals, and swim lessons might overtake them by the end of the fiscal year. Drop-ins are still lagging, but it could reflect patrons moving to memberships because memberships have gotten so big. So, and that
Do drop-ins include people who come in on a punch card?
No, those are punch cards are considered memberships.
And when you consider, like in this, the 988 number on that first graph, the punch card, so you sell one punch card and you
That's one
consider that
membership.
one membership, it has 20 punches or something.
Yep.
And then they buy a second punch card and you consider that a second membership.
Yep. And it also includes, if you have a monthly and you renew the next month, that's 2 memberships because it's 2 months of monthly memberships. So I look at this graph as duplicated. So this duplicates. We have data that also shows by person. And I didn't put it in this one, but I can put it in next month's, like individual person memberships. I think we're at 640 something individuals. So it doesn't count each of their months as 12 memberships. It just counts it as one in our unduplicated number. And so we're at like 628 or 640 or something like that. And I think last year it hit 740. So we're lower in unduplicated than last year, which is expected because of the summer. But we're higher in duplicated.
I think it would be interesting to see that graph. So essentially, our so the 988 represents the number of memberships we have divided by the number of months that we have had so far this year.
That's the total number of duplicated memberships. So if we each have a monthly, that's considered 5 memberships. Then let's say Jean cancels hers the next month. Then we would have 5 plus 4. So we'd have 9 memberships. Does that make sense? It's like duplicating each individual person every month.
Every month.
Yeah.
Or just, does that make sense?
I think I would like to see this
The non,
a single
Yeah.
one, because then I mean, I think when the average person looks at this and you say that's the memberships, they assume there's 988 like renewing members.
Yeah. I agree. The first
Yeah.
day I was up there at the desk, I had a grandpa come in and he wanted to buy a monthly membership for himself and 3 of the grandkids. And he had not bought one since last year. So that's a new membership to me. He's coming
Yeah.
back. Now, if he'd been in last month and he was just renewing, that's not a new membership. That's just a renewal. So-
Yeah, and I don't know if I like logically track a punch card as a membership. I understand the thought of using that number of punches within a month, or but I think I would logically, my brain wants to put that with drop-ins.
Well, that's why I asked, because I do the punch card, but it also is the alternative if you just have one. Like if your family can't use it a certain, like to make the family membership worth it, you have to go like 3 or 4 days a week, which like, there's no way we can do. So we just get the 20 punch pass. And then every time all 5 of us go, we eat it up really quickly. So it kind of is a membership because we go a lot, but we can't get
Yeah.
the annual.
So for the software tracking
It's
it,
kinda
I
weird.
watched them,
Yeah.
they scan those punch cards in just like they scan in their membership cards. I'm not sure, can the software separate
If it
that?
gets separate,
Yeah,
have
I mean,
a
we can
card,
see the
then
difference
we'll
between a
drop it
punch
in the
card
annual
and
member-
annual, and
membership.
there's
So
different
month-
reports we can run
Yeah.
that show the type.
like all 4.
Looking at the
Little-
data this month, we had 26 new members this month that didn't have memberships last month. Because I just looked at that report. Pulling that data out for prior years is really difficult, which is why this total number of memberships duplicated is something that's easy to pull out, and it's apples to apples every year. But we can also go back and pull the unduplicated. And like I said, I've got that data. It's just not here as one of the KPIs.
Like
but I
if
kinda have it
someone
here.
buys a punch card and then they hold on to it for 8 months without it being used.
It's still one membership
Yeah.
because it's good for 365 days from the date of purchase.
No, I think mine's about to expire. We got an email, and we have like 5 people all using one punch card. But
Right.
that's only one membership.
Mm.
'Cause we're all using that same punch card account when we go in and
So do
drop
you
in.
think that families would
It might be better to
appreciate a
track it
different
to
type
drop
of
in
membership
those punch
option?
cards.
We've looked
In
at
that
it
scenario, because you
before, 'cause
Yeah, but
the price
part of the
increased,
reason
there's a lot of it.
that we moved to having it as a membership
So
Yeah,
that's-
because it's a family membership, kind of like Janelle's describing. And if someone has a kiddo that's under 14 and they want to buy a membership for their kiddo, they have to have a membership too. And it's more cost effective for them to do a punch card membership, and then they can buy their $16 a month membership for their kiddo. And then they just use punches for themselves, and then their kiddo is getting the monthly. So that's part of why we moved toward it, is because of that family aspect.
Yeah, for sure. Kids are there with one of them.
But they're still counted as being there at that time at the pool, whether they're a drop-in or a member. We still count them as
A
on the
body.
usage side. So there's more reports we run. It's not just how many we have. We can also see the usage numbers, which is how we get the times and days that people are coming in. That's my report.
Courtney, previously you were tracking all the grant applications that we had outstanding. Do you still have that list going, like a running list?
So we are starting a new list,
Okay.
and our grant writer is offered to come and present to the board on what she's looking at and what she's doing is after New Year once we get through budget. So she's going to come in and present to you on what she's looking at.
And what is the name of the new grant writer?
You're going to ask me. I can't
Oh,
think of it off
you
the
knew
top
we
of
were
my
going to
head.
ask you that, huh? Next meeting.
I've got her card sitting on my desk.
Okay.
Board member highlights. My highlight.
I
is-
have my highlight.
My highlight is being up there at the pool, and gotta say, it's kind of enjoyable. Seeing everybody coming in and good vibes, and they're having a great time, and the pool is open, and I would encourage each and every one of you to slip up there this week. If you've never watched those Marine deputies, I watched them last year. It's very interesting, the training they do in the pool. Yeah. I swear they have to put bricks in their jacket. I know it's not bricks in their jacket, but yeah, they have to weight themselves down. And we had one fellow up there last week. He was just completing his swim training. Prerequisite, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I remember reading that it was happening during other swim lessons, but what is the time that's?
So they rent the pool from 8:30 to 4. So if you come probably around 10 or at 1, the afternoon is more interesting because they're doing the fully clothed, in the water treading. So I would come around 1 o'clock.
And that's Thursday, isn't it? Next
Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday? Yeah.
This week.
This Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yep. And the public's welcome to come watch as well.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that it is Paradise Produce on the calendar from 8 to 9 on Thursday, the 30th. And then on Friday, May 1st, the chamber calendar, shout out to them that they do already have the MACRC water safety on their website. And they also have the free rec swim on their calendar already. And I pulled it up. I know.
Shout out to the
Chamber's awesome.
They're on top of it. But no, I went to go lap swim for the first time in like 7 years. Because I'm normally there with my children. And so I had a day off, and a coworker invited me to come lap swim with them. And so I went to meet them, and Jean was at the front desk trying to figure out a membership. And it was second grade swim lessons. So there were a million second graders walking in. It was the health fair. Is that what it was called? Going on in the room. So it was insane. And I was showing up to go lap swim, which was very entertaining. And I didn't drown.
And everybody was very patient. I said, hey, it's my first day. Can I just write this all down and we'll get back to you?
I was like, Jean, just take a punch off later. I'm going to go swim before I back out of my decision. But it was fun to have Jean there. And then I was watching in between when I was trying to catch my breath. I got to watch all the second grade lessons, which was really fun. And then I met a person in the lane next to me was from Redmond, and they're covering our lab at the hospital. And he introduced himself. He was like, do you lab swim all the time? And I was like, no, this is my first day back. And he drives up before his shift at our hospital from Redmond and lap swims at our pool before going to the hospital to work every Wednesday. And so he was just introduced himself and told me all that. And I was like, oh, great. So it was a really fun, I picked the right day to go swim.
I encountered someone in the community this week that said that there was a nice woman at the front in a red shirt. Does that mean that she's a board member or a volunteer? If they're wearing a red shirt, I'm like, I don't know what color shirt she was wearing. Was it Jean?
It was me.
Yeah.
Anything, Frank?
What's your
Leslie's
highlight?
birthday, and I got to miss the party.
Oh no, go catch it.
I'll give her a hug when I get.
Are you all done with volleyball now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, football. Yeah.
Maybe forever.
Maybe.
No.
That's what you said last year, I think, too. And they talked you into one more year.
I've said that for the last 20.
20 years. All right. Meeting adjourned. Cora, no more highlights? Yeah.
I got the opportunity to work with my friend that does roots, and we made like 50 bows for the cheerleaders at Roots. That was fun. Yeah, I don't know. Every meeting we just get deeper into the stuff, and I feel more prepared. So yeah, it's good.
All right. Meeting adjourned
At 8:09.
8:09.
The record.